Hello students, today we will be doing the last application of the Gauss law. The last application is to find out the electric field intensity due to infinitely long, straight, uniformly charged wire. So now we have a thin wire which is uniformly charged. Let us try to understand the geometry of this application. First thing is the wire is infinitely long and the distribution is uniform. So suppose I take a wire, thin wire, it is infinite. Infinitely long means a very long wire. The charges are uniformly distributed on it. So it is a linear charge distribution. Now let us consider a point P and the distance of the point P from the wire is R. Now, so this is a thin wire. We have to neglect its thickness. It is a very thin wire and the charges are uniformly distributed on its surface. I am taking a point P at a distance R. Now if I make a rotation around the wire, let us say this is we rotate around the wire. So this path is circular path. The path is circular. Now, if I take different points, say point P dash, then also the distance will be R. If I take a point Q, point R, point S, any point, because when we rotate around it, it becomes a circle and R is a radial vector or a radius vector. So the electric field intensity at point P, Q, R, S, P dash, anywhere, the electric field intensity will be same. The magnitude of electric field intensity will be same. And the direction of the electric field intensity is radially outward. One thing which can be easily understood from this diagram is that this positive charge, suppose there is one positive charge here, its electric field lines cannot go in upward direction or along the y-axis because there is another charge. So these two field lines cancels each other. It cannot go in a downward direction. So if there are charge uniformly distributed on this wire and we take any charge on this wire, its field will be always radially outward. So if the wire is kept along the y-axis, the field lines will be along the z-axis. It will be radially outward. So by geometry, the electric field lines will be radially outward. This will be the electric field intensity of this thin wire. And there is mathematical way also to understand how this field is radially outward. So the field lines are normal to the wire. The field lines are normal to the wire. If we take a finite wire, then there is a possibility that a charge which is at the edge have a field in the same direction, means along the axis of the wire. Otherwise, if the wire is infinitely long, all the field lines are radially outward or normal to the wire. Now let us see the mathematical way to understand or to prove that the field lines are radially outward. So let us take a small element, because it is a continuous charge distribution, and if you remember the application or to find out the electric field intensity, when the charge distribution is not discrete but continuous, then you have to divide the entire body or the wire into a small elements. and the one small portion was known as line element. So I take a small line element. This line element is, say, dl vector. Another line element is this dl vector, and dq be the amount of the charge. Now if I place a test charge at this point, so there will be a repulsion. This is dE. Similarly, for this element, these elements are equidistant. So this is dE. So if I place a test charge at this point, this is a source. Line element dl vector, amount of charges dq, that we have studied in continuous charge distribution. Now, if I place a test charge here, it will be repelled away. So this is the direction of electric field intensity or electric field intensity at point P due to dl vector. Similarly, the electric field intensity at point P due to dl vector is in this direction. Now, since this dl vector or the line element are equidistant, this angle will be same. Now, if I draw a Cartesian coordinate system here, so dE vector is two-dimensional. So you have to resolve this. Now, if I take this component, it becomes dE cos theta. So this is the cos component of dE, and this is dE sin theta. Similarly, if I resolve this, this will be the cos component dE cos theta, and this will be the sin component dE sin theta. Now, if you see this component, its magnitude is dE sin theta, that is due to this element. For this element, it is again dE sin theta. Both have a same magnitude but opposite direction. So this sin component cancels. Or we say the component which is parallel to the wire cancels each other, and now the resultant will be dE cos theta. And if I have only two elements, it will be dE cos theta plus dE cos theta. That will be 2 times dE cos theta. But we have infinite elements. So if I want to find out the resultant electric field intensity, I have to do the integration if we are applying the definition of the electric field intensity. But here we have to apply the Gauss law. So we are not going to take this method, though we can easily find out with the help of mathematics the electric field intensity at this point. Now this shows that the sign component cancels, or this is a component which is perpendicular to the radius vector. Only the component which is along the radius vector will contribute to the electric field, and hence for such a geometry or a straight wire, the electric field lines are radially outward. So this is the proper way to understand that if you take a infinitely long wire, the electric field lines are radially outward, because these two components which are normal to r vector or radius vector cancels each other. So now we assume and we consider that the field lines will be radial. And now instead of doing this mathematical part, doing the integration, putting the limit, we will use the Gauss law to find out the electric field intensity, because Gauss law is very easy if the situation has some symmetry. So here we will find out a symmetrical situation and apply a Gauss law. We will do this method also in exercise, but it is a very long method. You will be able to find out the same answer as we will do this Gauss. So again, we come to our proper theory. You have to apply the Gauss law. So again, take an infinitely long wire. Now it should be clear that the field lines is radially outward. It is along the radius. The charge are uniformly distributed over it. Now this is a continuous charge distribution and the source is a wire. So the density is lambda. It is a linear charge density. Now in all the application, first you have to define the density, whether it is surface, volume or linear charge density. So if Q is the amount of charge, so that is lambda is equal to Q upon L, that is the length of the wire. So the linear charge density is Q upon L. Now you have to apply the Gauss law and we have to find out the electric field intensity at a point P which is normal to the wire. Now there is no use to find out the electric field intensity at this point. It will be zero because the field lines will not come out. It is wire is infinitely long. If this wire is finite, then you may get an electric field intensity at this point. That we will see whether we will get the intensity or not at this point. So for the time being, because the field lines are radially outward, that we have proved that the field line should be radially outward. So I have to find out the electric field intensity at point P. So the question is, use the Gauss law and find out the electric field intensity at point P. Now in order to apply the Gauss law, first we have to imagine a Gaussian surface. And the Gaussian surface should be such that it encloses the charge. So let us assume first a Gaussian surface. Now again, the Gaussian surface is assumed to be a cylinder. So I have to cover an entire wire. So how I will cover an entire wire? This is the wire which is uniformly charged. This was a point P, the first diagram which we have drawn. We take a rotation. So the electric field intensity at each and every point on this cross section comes out to be same. So this is my Gaussian surface. Then if I take point Q here, so point P and point Q are identical. So this will be another Gaussian surface. This will be another Gaussian surface, say point R. So electric field intensity at point P, Q, R, any point which is at the same distance, say R distance from the wire, will have a same electric field intensity. So if I join this, it take a form of a cylinder. So for a point, I take a cross section. For another point, another cross section, another cross section. If I join this, it becomes a cylinder. So it is a cylinder. You can find out the electric field intensity at any point on this curved surface. The field lines are radially outward. Let R be the radius of this cylinder and let the length is L. So this is our imaginary Gaussian surface, cylindrical Gaussian surface. Now we know that the cylinder is made up of three parts. Now I take a small element of this cross section. We have two cross sections. So this is phase 1, phase 2 and this is phase 3. It is clear that the field lines are radially outward, that we have shown. So this is the field lines which are radially outward. So I take a small element, let this R be the radius. So this is small element. Now area vector of this, that will be delta S vector. So cross section, we know that the cylinder have three parts. For this element, the area vector is in the upward direction. And for a point Pi, if I take an element, delta S vector, it will be in the direction of the electric field intensity. So clearly, again the Gaussian surface is divided into a small elements. And we will understand that these two cross section will not contribute because the area vector is perpendicular to the E vector. So the flux contribution comes out from the third phase, or you can say from the curved surface of a cylinder whose area we know it is 2 pi RL. So it is opposite to what we did in the last application. We have seen the plane sheet. There also we have taken the cylindrical Gaussian surface. There the field lines was radially outward because the plate was charged on both the sides, and these two portion contributed to the field, and the contribution from this curved surface was 0. Here it is opposite. There we have the surface charge density, and here we have a linear charge density. Now the contribution here also, the field lines was coming radially outward, but this two cross section contribute to the flux, and the curved surface contribution was 0. Here it is opposite, that the cross sections will not contribute. So the electric field lines are radially outward for an infinitely long wire, that we understood, because their sine component or the component normal to the radial vector cancels each other, and the component which is along the radius add up or sum up, or if there are infinite elements, we do the integration of the cosine components of electric field intensity. But we have to apply the Gauss law. So first we define lambda. Now there will be one cylinder, another cylinder, another cylinder. So it becomes the length of a wire only. Now the flux contribution by the first phase, matlab this phase and this phase, will be 0. So let phi 1 and phi 2 be the flux linked with cross section of cylinder, and it is 0 since delta S vector is perpendicular to E vector. So cross section will not contribute. So phi 1 is equal to phi 2 is equal to 0. That is our equation number 2. Equation 1 is lambda is equal to Q by E. Phi 3, let phi 3 be flux linked with curved surface. Linked with a curved surface of cylinder. So phi 3 will be equal to E delta S. Both are in the same direction. So E summation of all delta S, it is E vector dot S vector. And then angle is 0. Then total flux, so we do the summation of all delta S. So it comes out to be E into area of the curved surface is 2 pi RL. So total flux phi is equal to phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3. Substituting this value, we get E is equal to 2 pi RL. That is equation 4. So this is the total flux contribution. Remember, in all the applications, first we define density, whether it is surface, volume or linear charge density. Then we take a Gaussian surface. Then we apply the definitions of flux, dividing that Gaussian surface into Gaussian element, and we find the total flux. And now the last step is you apply the Gauss law. Now what the Gauss says, that the total flux, so according to Gauss law, the total flux is equal to summation Q upon epsilon naught. So here entire charge. This is one Gaussian surface, then we have another cylinder, we have another cylinder. So actually it is the number of cross sections. These are the number of cross sections, and it take a cylindrical form, and we take a entire length of a cylinder. So summation Q can be written as the charge enclosed. Charge enclosed is capital Q, which can be replaced by lambda L. So here summation Q is equal to capital Q is equal to lambda L, charge enclosed in Gaussian surface. Therefore, flux is equal to lambda L upon epsilon naught. That is equation number 5. Now the last step, we compare the total flux with this equation. So comparing equation 4 and equation 5. So E 2 pi RL is equal to lambda L upon epsilon naught. LL get cancelled. So the final magnitude of the electric field intensity is E is equal to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught R. So this is the electric field intensity at any point normal to the wire. Your point should be normal to the wire. So here the wire is along the y-axis, the point is taken along the x-axis, or it should be normal to the wire. Now this is the magnitude of electric field intensity. We know the electric field intensity is radially outward. Also, another way to remember this formula is E is equal to, we multiply and divide it by 2. So this 2 becomes 4 pi epsilon naught is K. So it becomes 2K lambda upon R. This is the, it will be easy to remember this formula. So this is the electric field intensity at any point normal to the wire in vector form. E vector is equal to 2K lambda upon R cap, where R cap is unit vector normal to wire. So this is in the vector form. Now if lambda is greater than 0, that is the wire is positively charged, then E is greater than 0. If lambda is less than 0, then E is also less than 0. That is the electric plus minus, you have to take the care of plus and minus sign, whether the field is radially outward or it is radially inward. Or we can write, let us write this, E radially outward, and this will be radially inward. So if this lambda is less than 0, E will also be less than 0. So this is the application of the Gauss law. The first, this is the last application of the Gauss law. Also we have completed the chapter as far as the theory is concerned. We have another application. In the book we have only 3 applications. The 4th application is find out the electric field intensity due to solid sphere. We have done plane sheet, spherical shell, that is hollow sphere, and the 3rd application was an infinitely long wire. There is another application where your source is a solid sphere. Solid sphere means we have a volume charge density. So that we will see in our next lecture, which will be an extra 4th application of the Gauss law. Now a small question, it is like an MCQ related to the application, we have again a very long wire, uniformly charged. Same application, direct formula. The electric field intensity is given. You have to find out the linear charge density at a point which is 2 centimeter away. So direct application, we know that for an infinitely long wire, for infinitely long charged wire, E is equal to 2k lambda by R. So direct you have to substitute the values. Lambda is equal to ER upon 2k. You have to find out the surface charge density. So electric field is given 9 into 10 raised to 4. R is 2 centimeter. So 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 meter into 2 into k is 9 into 10 raised to 9. So this will be the charge per unit length, coulomb per meter. So this calculation, you substitute the value and calculate or find out the value of lambda. It is the direct application of infinitely charged long wire. It is like an MCQ or a direct application of our Gauss law. Now let us see question number 24. It is related to the infinite plane sheet. Now for one plane sheet, we have derived E is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. This was our final derivation when we have taken infinitely charged uniform plane sheet. Now here you have two plates. It is given that there are two plates, plate 1 and plate 2. One is positively charged, or one have a positive surface charge density 17 into 10 raised to minus 22, and other is a negative charge. So one is positively charged, one is negatively charged. Both the plates are kept parallel to each other. So now we have two plates which are kept parallel to each other, and one is positively charged and other is negatively charged. And the question is, find out the electric field intensity outer region of plate 1, outer region of plate 2, and between the plates. So let us give the point. This is point P, say point Q, and point R. Now it is given that the plates have the charge on the inner side. The plate have a charge on the inner side. So this plate is, one plate is positively charged, this is negatively charged, and we have kept parallel to each other. Clearly there are no charges outside as mentioned in the question. So electric field intensity, if I keep a test charge at this point, outside this, the electric field intensity will be 0 on point P and point R. So in the outer region of plate A, the electric field intensity is 0. On the outer region of plate 2, since the plate is charged from inner side. Now even if the plate is charged on both the side, positively charged on both sides, and this is negatively charged on both sides. Now we know that what was the important conclusion of this derivation? It does not depend on a distance. It does not depend on a distance. So at point P, if the plate is charged positively on both sides, if I keep a test charge here, the electric field intensity E1 will be away from the plate, and its formula become sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. So E1 vector is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. It does not depend on the distance, whether point P is near or away. Similarly, for this plate, if I keep a test charge here, it should be attracted towards that plate. So E2, E1 means plate 1, E2 means plate 2. So this will be equal to minus sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. I am taking the direction, keep a test charge here. So for this, it will be repulsion. For this plate, it will be attraction. Now, if I see the direction, it is opposite. The charge is, one is positive, one is negative. So if I do the summation, it comes out to be 0. Same thing, for this plate, if I keep a test charge, it will be in this direction, along the positive x-axis. It will be repelled away by this plate. If I keep a test charge at this point, due to this, there will be an attraction. So again, the direction is opposite, the magnitude is same. The magnitude of surface charge density is same. So resultant outside the plate comes out to be 0. As far as this question is concerned, it is clearly mentioned that the plates are charged in the inner face. So we have a charges on the inner face. So directly we write, since plate consists of, both the plate consist of charges on inner side, the electric field intensity at point P, that is outer region of plate 1, and at point R, which is also outer region of plate 2, is 0. So here, because the inner faces are positively and negatively charged, the outer surface will have no charge, and therefore the electric field intensity in the outer region of plate 1 and in the outer region of plate 2 is 0. Now we have to find out the electric field intensity between the two plates. So let us see the direction. If I keep a test charge here, the electric field intensity due to this positive charge E1, due to positively charged plate, is along the x-axis, and the same test charge will be attracted towards it. So the direction of electric field intensity due to plate 2 is also along the x-axis. So at point Q, both E1 and E2 are in the same direction. So for the first two portion, the answer is 0. For third portion, the electric field intensity between the plates, 1 and 2 are in same direction. That is from plate 1 to plate 2. That is, E1 vector and E2 vector are in direction from plate 1 to plate 2. So the direction is same. Now we have to find out the magnitude. We will find out the magnitude of the electric field intensity. So E1 is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. That is our formula, and E2 is also equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. So here the magnitude is same, the direction is also same. So the resultant electric field intensity, resultant field at point Q or between the plate, E is equal to E1 plus E2. So they have the same direction. We simply add up that is equal to sigma upon 2 epsilon naught plus sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, that is sigma upon epsilon naught. So E is equal to sigma upon epsilon naught. Sigma is 17 into 10 raised to 22 divided by epsilon naught 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. So this is Newton per Coulomb. So you substitute this value and find out, and the unit is Newton per Coulomb, and the direction of this is from plate 1 to plate 2, because one is positively charged and one is negatively charged. So in the outer region of both the plates, the intensity is 0 because no charges are there on the other side of the plates. Now if suppose, now this complete our question, if both the plates are positive, suppose both the plates are positive, so what will be the intensity at this point? This is positively charged on both sides. This is also positively charged on both sides. Say here they have given one is positive, one is negative. It may be possible that both are positive, both are negative. One is positive, one is negative is given. Now if I place a test charge here, suppose the magnitude is same. Sigma is the density. So this plate will repel the test charge in this direction. Say this is E1. And this plate will repel in the opposite direction. So both have a same magnitude. So resultant comes out to be 0. And at this point, if I keep a test charge here, you have to remember in this application the electric field intensity does not depend on the distance. So first plate, repulsion E1. Second plate, repulsion E2. Same direction, magnitude is same. So again you will get sigma upon epsilon naught outside. Here also, if I keep a test charge, repulsion. Due to this repulsion, again I get an answer sigma upon epsilon naught. So if two plates are positively charged, the electric field intensity between the two plates is 0. Outside you will get sigma upon epsilon naught on outside either plate. Similarly, if I take negative charge, both plates are negatively charged. If I keep a test charge here, it will be attracted. This plate will attract towards it. So resultant again comes out to be 0. If I take a point outside, this plate, attraction, this plate, attraction. Again both will have a same direction, sigma upon epsilon naught, sigma upon epsilon naught. So we have a three possibility. Either both the plate is positively charged, both the plate is negatively charged, or one is positive and one is negative. If one is positive, one is negative, on outer region or outer portion of the two plates, the intensity is 0, and between it is sigma upon epsilon naught if the magnitudes of the surface charge density is same. Similarly, if we have two negative or two positive plate, the intensity between the two plates would be 0, and outside again you get sigma upon epsilon naught. So this is the application of our theory which we have derived using the Gauss law. So we wind up our lecture at this point. Have a good day.